Hello, BookTube. We're continuing with my library tour. I'd originally planned more than a week ago, to do all of the rest of the books in this library tour in one gigantic video, but it didn't upload. And I've had all sorts of fantasies about why it didn't upload. So one of those fantasies, the one I'm going with, is that it was too long. That doesn't make any sense. I know that. I've had several of you point that out to me. It doesn't make any sense because I've uploaded 40-minute videos on the mail and tags and whatnot, and YouTube doesn't know what I'm uploading. So the length of the video obviously isn't the problem. Nevertheless, in the meantime, while I was breaking these up, I was also realizing, and you were also emailing me. Keep in mind, my email is down below. Feel free, write about anything. Several of you were emailing saying, even if you did the original video over again, it's still not enough. What about that bookcase behind you? It starts with Norton Critical Editions, but it's full of romance novels. Quite a few of you have said, we want the whole library tour. We don't want one particular thing, and we can skip it. And so we're just going to continue with this library tour until we're done. Now, instead of my goal being to finish it before I go to the old farmhouse in Vermont for Thanksgiving, I will now hope to finish it before Christmas. Certainly this year, no matter what. So this next shelf is sideways books. They're all transverse. And we start with two non-book items that just are here for some reason or other. First one is a photograph. Because it's a photograph of mine, it's a photograph of dogs. And that is a very young basset hound. I'd had her for one day. Found her in traffic probably the day before I took this photo. And that is a very young pointer, very beautiful, sound asleep, wedged against her sister, as always, as she would spend the next 15 years. She never slept except wedged against her sister. And then in the background, two beagles, arm in arm. Two old beagles. The Grizzly Piebald Dooley had health problems and died not long after this picture was taken. And Weiser, that sweet white-faced old angel, was the last of my beagles. Those two were the last of my beagles. This picture represents, in its own nerdy way, a transition point that doesn't matter to the rest of you, but is fairly major to me. When I have an old friend who I haven't seen in 25 years, when they track me down through social media and get in touch with me, they say, well, I know three things about you. I haven't had any contact with you, I haven't followed you on social media or anything like that, but I know three things for sure. You live somewhere in or near Boston. You work in a bookstore, and you have a crowd of beagles who are sleeping around you right now. And I have to tell them, I do still live in and around Boston, but I don't work in a bookstore anymore, and I don't have any beagles. I have dogs, but I don't have beagles. It takes a long time for that to sink in with some people. Gotta confess, it takes a long time for it to sink in with me. They're still the dogs I dream about. They're still the dogs that I reflexively think about in my mind. These two were the last of many, many, many beagles. They were synonymous with me. I know them better than anything. I know them better than any breed of my own people. And I had no idea that would change, but that you don't say no when things happen, when things come your way, when people come your way who need you or they're going to be dead, you can't say no in principle. You can't say no because that isn't what I've always done. Your answer, you have only one answer. And so I took in Malin, and then I took in Lucy, and then my last beagles died, and that was it. Not only my last beagles, but my last boy dogs. So very strange. This picture's just sitting here. There's Lucy looking at the camera, not understanding what it is because my little hippo never understood anything. And the other item on this shelf is this. This is a Gang Intaglio Switchblade. I was presented with this by its original owner here in JP in what used to be the field across the street while I was walking, Lucy and Malin. And after an unpleasant altercation that lasted about 15 seconds, I took it from him. I told him that I didn't want to see him again, and I haven't. I was expecting that he would return with his friends and that I would have to make the point a little more emphatically. But I didn't, so I kept this as a souvenir. It is... even after all this time and without any sharpening at all, it is absolutely razor sharp. This is not a toy. So I don't know why it's on this shelf. It actually shouldn't be. Let's put that down there. And then we have books. You're probably wondering if we would get to books. Let's see. Okay. The first one is an Echo Press reprint of Personal Pleasures by Rose Macaulay. This is the author of The Towers of Trebizond. And she did this. These are little collected pieces of reflections on breakfast, or on getting out of bed, or not getting out of bed, or reading. Just delightful stuff. If you know Rose Macaulay, most people will know her from The Towers of Trebizond, if they'll know anything at all. If you know her from that book or from any other book, you're going to want. She's one of those authors where you want to spend time in her presence, so you would get personal pleasures. And this is why I'm very happy to see that it was back in print. Okay, then this next one is Chasing New Horizons, about the space mission. Look at all the blurbs on the back of that. Incredible. And I think mine is one of them. Yes, mine is one of them. That's another problem. I'm with these library tours. I'm now leery of putting links to all of my written reviews down at the bottom. I'm wondering if that isn't what caused the massive failure of that video a week ago. But it doesn't matter anyway, because you can just Google me. If you Google my name and the name of the book and the name of the author, if you type my name into the Google search and then a space and then whatever you're wondering whether I wrote about, just type that in and you'll almost certainly find me. And I've written about quite a few of these things. Also, SteveDonahue.com, the website that I am slowly but surely filling with stuff of mine, with written stuff of mine over the eons. It's always worthwhile to check there for any of these things. I know that a few of these things are there. I've reviewed quite a bit of what we're going to be seeing here. So this next one is Kathleen Belew. This is the paperback of Bring the War Home. Her really, really good, insightful book on the rise of white nationalist paramilitary groups in the American interior. So it's a problem that people on the East Coast and the West Coast might not think is as bad as it is. And then you get someplace like Wyoming or Montana, and it's really, really widespread. These, I hear a scratching at the door. Oh, there's the baby bean. The door was open when it was all, 45 degrees open when I started this video, and I thought, that looks kind of bad. So I closed it with Frida out on the couch. And that must not be. Frida is a very independent, spirited dog. She loves meeting strangers. She loves people. She's always up for an adventure. But she doesn't like to be far away from me. Ever. So she just pushed her way in and is now here staring up at me. But anyway, as I was saying, this is a bigger subject than people think. Because these white fascist KKKs are not just numerous. They're insanely heavily armed. And they live on an apocalyptic mythology they circulate amongst themselves that says that they are sooner or later going to be in armed conflict with the government of the United States and with normal people. They make lists of people they know who will be the enemy when the time comes. And these are ordinary people. These are PTA moms. These are hardware store clerks and whatnot that they know in town. And it's not political when they make those lists. The people that get on those lists are on those lists because they are good people. He doesn't seem to hate black people. She's got a 20-something daughter who's a lesbian, and she doesn't seem to mind. She still loves her daughter, hasn't excommunicated her, hasn't banished her from the family. And the unspoken appendage to those comments is, so we will have to kill them. And this is real, and it's incredibly widespread. And this is the paperback of Bring the War Home. I loved it. Thought it was really good. If anything, it didn't go far enough in how bad the problem is. Then we have, it looks like a lot of these are paperbacks from the publisher. These are new paperbacks. They still have, a lot of them still have their pub sheets in them. This is Aminata Forna's Happiness. It's a terrific, terrific novel that I just kept in paperback, although what it's doing in here, I'm not so sure. I don't know that any of these belong in here. Oh, you collectors out there. This is a zine, an old-fashioned zine known as Black Mask. Weird Mask. And what makes these issues special is that they contain a sword and sorcery fantasy story by yours truly, the Red Bishop, which I am hoping